Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar about trends on the European IT and business process outsourcing market. This webinar is organized by CBI, the Center for the Promotion of Imports from Developing Countries, which is part of the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. My name is Sanne Bogers. I'm a program manager, market intelligence at CBI, and responsible for the outsourcing sector. CBI offers market intelligence on the European market for 14 different sectors, ranging from IT and business process outsourcing to apparel and natural ingredients. Our market intelligence is specifically aimed at exporters from developing countries. It is free and contains a lot of tips on how to best enter the European market. Today, we are here to present some of the key findings from our latest trend study for the outsourcing sector. The presentation is given by Marieke de Haan, one of our market researchers for this sector, and Laszlo Klucs, who is an expert in this sector and who is also involved in our market research. It is great that you are all attending here to this webinar. We have about 60 participants at this moment from all over the world, and we especially welcome people from Senegal, Uganda, and Egypt, where CBI has projects to support SMEs in the sector. This webinar will take 75 minutes. After my introduction, Marieke and Laszlo will give their presentation of about 45 minutes. And after that presentation, we have about 15 minutes to answer questions from you, our audience. This means that if you have any questions during the webinar, you can put them in the question box in your control panel. After the questions and answers, and before we close the session, I will give a bit more information about the market intelligence we offer, and my colleague Henrike will make an announcement about our new project in Egypt. Some practical aspects about the webinar. We cannot see or hear you. So, as mentioned, please put your questions or remarks in the question box. Also, if you have any technical questions, we will try to help you. This webinar is recorded and will be published on our website so that you can watch it again or share it with others who might be interested. The presentation will be sent to you a couple of days after the webinar. And if you have any audio problems, please try on the audio options the phone call. And tariffs should be local or toll-free. And lastly, we kindly request you to fill in the short survey at the end of the webinar for us to improve future webinars. Okay, I think I've said enough. You should be able to see the presentation, and I wish you all a very interesting and useful webinar, and give the floor now to Marieke.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marieke de Haan. I am a market researcher at Geopolitical. I'm doing this work for over 10 years. We are based in the Netherlands, and at the moment, I am the lead market researcher for our outsourcing studies. And I'm presenting this webinar together with Laszlo. He is one of our experts, and we love to work with him. So he'll introduce himself now.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Laszlo Klucs. I'm an independent consultant in IT outsourcing and business process outsourcing. I have over 25 years of experience. I worked in over 40 countries, and I have been working with CBI about 20 years together. And of course, I've been also involved in the market research that we are going to present right now.
Okay, so today we will talk you through all trends that we have discovered and written in our trends study. There are 16 trends, and we will cover them all today. We have divided them into different topics, so it will give you a more coherent understanding of the market. So there are 5 topics today, and we will start with number 1. And so next slide, please. That is the trends that we can thank COVID-19 for. In general, it can be said that all trends that derive from the appearance of COVID-19 on the market will be quite beneficial to our outsourcing products. We think that it will only benefit the demand for outsourcing, because COVID-19 accelerated the demand for outsourcing. It increased digital transformation. It lowered the threshold towards outsourcing. There has been more communication and understanding worldwide between suppliers and demand. And it also increased digitization and automation. So from the demand side, we see a very big increase. But even though the outlook for our sector is really good, individual outsourcing companies do report negative effects. This is actually the third webinar that we're doing since the outbreak of COVID-19. And in the previous webinars, we have asked you a question. You can see it in the next slide. The question that we asked you is, how has COVID-19 affected your business so far? And you can see that the differences from the time when we asked it in July, as opposed to November, when we asked you the same question again. And then a lot more people reported positive effects from COVID-19. And but still, a lot of companies reported a negative effect, mainly because they had difficulties with delivering their work, because their staff wasn't able to come to the office, and other difficulties that came with the arrival of COVID-19. But you guessed it, we are also really curious how you're feeling right now. So we have a poll for you with exactly the same question. How has COVID-19 affected your business so far? So how are you doing right now? It's April 2021. Let us know. You can select your answer. We have seen that most positive changes were reported amongst companies that were able to continue their business, and that they were working in sectors that needed more solutions that could be outsourced, like, for example, healthcare or logistics. But yeah, of course, there were also a lot of companies that reported a negative effect. So we are super curious to see how you're feeling about the whole situation, how it has affected your business. That's interesting. It's actually pretty much the same result as we had in November. Negative is down a tiny bit, and the other two are pretty much the same. So yeah, well, thank you for your answers. That's really it's good to know, although I'm a tiny bit sad to see that it's still 56% of you that feel like it has affected you negatively. Well, we have a lot of trends that you can tap into. We're going to talk you through them. So the second part of this webinar is about the main market trends and how you can use them to your advantage. And there are 7 main market trends. Also, we'll talk later about the other more product and service specific market trends. The first one is digital resonance. I wonder if anybody listening has said those 2 words together in one sentence before, because it's a little bit of a vague term, but it's essentially about how companies, or how you handle the effect of the digital transformation. Digital resonance is used as a location attractiveness term. So European companies companies worldwide, they find digital resonance increasingly important. They particularly look at how you handle automation and cybersecurity. And so it influences the attractiveness of your location. There's a really interesting source that you can look into. It's the Global Service Location Index, Gsli. It's released every 2 years by the consulting firm Kearney. There you can find a list of more than 50 countries, and they assess them every 2 years based on their attractiveness. They have 5 indexes on which they base their ranking. And 2 years ago, they started weighing the digital resonance. And it has become even more important this year because actually this week they released the 2021 edition. So yeah, I can reveal that digital resonance has become even more important this year. So what can you do to improve your digital resonance factor? Well, obviously you have to be transparent and thorough in letting your buyers know how you handle automation and cybersecurity. A little bit more about that is the second trend of this study. That's data security and privacy, because that's a big part of digital resonance. So they're linked together. Well, it should not be a surprise to you that data security and privacy is so important, especially complying with the GDPR. You really need to, because pretty much all products and services in ITO and BPO, they deal with the GDPR. So and of course there are a lot of other requirements, legal and non-legal, that you have to comply with. It's a kind of a boring subject, if I may say so. It's super important, but it's not really interesting to go into deeper in this presentation. So we recommend you to read our studies about this topic. Also, maybe we have a specific study on your product or service, so you can see into detail what you have to comply with and what we can advise you. So I'm just gonna leave this topic here for now and go to number 3. It's a little bit more juicy. It's a skills shortage. I was writing this presentation and I thought, oh, we should have included a poll here, because I'm actually quite curious to see if you have troubles finding the right people for your business. That we're definitely going to include that next time, because a lot of European companies have difficulties with finding the right people for the job. That's of course a big driver behind the demand for outsourcing. So yeah, it will only increase the demand, but what can you do? Your job is to find the right people. You have to find them, you have to keep them, you have to inspire them, and to make sure that they keep learning. And of course, you have to let your buyers know that you have the right people for the job. And that will make you, and then we get to the next slide, that will make you a value-added partner, because that's something that is also increasingly important. That's also a big trend. Just doing your job is not enough anymore. You need to bring more value to the table. European buyers, they want valuable partners. They want quality, they want communication, they want technical expertise, they want domain knowledge, they want certification. And it's safe to say that added value has surpassed cost saving as the primary reason to outsource. I'm just going to say that again, because a lot of people still think that companies outsource mainly because it's cheaper. Added value has surpassed cost saving as the primary reason to outsource. So keep that in mind. What can you do to tap into this trend. You have to present yourself as a professional partner. You have to have good references, obtain relevant certification, respond quickly, communicate regularly, and not only when they ask you to. Offer constant quality. You have to comply with contractual agreements, have a good and stable management team to lead the project. So that's all in your hands to become a good added value partner. And then there's something that's a little bit less in your hands. That's geopolitical instability. We've seen that European companies take geopolitical stability of your location into consideration when they are thinking of going into business with you. What are examples of such risks? It's like the Arab Spring, Sri Lankan terrorist attacks, international trade disputes. Gartner predicted that in 2023, 65% of large enterprises using offshore or nearshoring services will have adopted a multi-country sourcing strategy. This means that they will outsource to different countries to minimize the risk of business being interrupted by geopolitical instability. Well, I can probably hear you think that it seems like that's something that's out of your control. And I know that probably most of it actually is out of your control, but you can do things to convince your buyers that you can deliver. And what you can do is you can identify possible geopolitical risks in your area. You can develop a contingency plan for that. And also have a very good convincing answer to the question, why should buyers consider your country when they want to outsource? Why should they come to your country? Not only your company, but also your country. So that's something that's some homework for you. And then the sixth trend, the shift from traditional to as a service sourcing. This is a trend that's not new. It has been around for quite a few years, and the shift has, the scale really tipped from traditional to as a service sourcing. So to give you, if you haven't heard of it yet, it's about traditionally companies had their IT systems on premises. For example, they had their software installed in their building, and now they increasingly make use of cloud-based services. But as a service sourcing is more customer-oriented than product-oriented, and it's more flexible. Customers pay only for what they consume. A lot of it is like cloud-based. So yeah, it is this trend, like I said, it's not new. But you have to be on board. So if you haven't looked into as a service sourcing yet, we really recommend you to do. We put some interesting links, for example, ISG1 in Gartner, but really the internet is full of it. So you can see how you can tap into this trend, because if you will not, it will be difficult to grow, because this is really the future of outsourcing. And then we have the seventh trend. It's actually my favorite. It's called impact sourcing. To me, it's quite new, I think, to most people, but it's not vague at all. In essence, it is responsible outsourcing. So if you've ever talked to European companies, or like if you looked at their business, like how they run their company, it's a lot about corporate social responsibility. That's like something that a lot of European companies are quite proud of. Examples are, for example, they don't print their emails. They serve fair trade coffee. They give to charity. When they make investments, then it's like socially and environmentally conscious. That's all in their corporate social responsibility strategy. So now, and this is where you come in, because this really is something I'm very enthusiastic about it. So they can now do this by outsourcing some of their work to you, because impact sourcing is a sourcing model that aims to improve people's lives, families, and communities through meaningful employment in ITO and BPO. So I'm just going to say that again. It is companies can do good by outsourcing their work to you. And most outsourcing service providers in CBI programs, they qualify as an impact sourcing provider. So this could totally be one of your unique selling points. Because you can profile yourself as an impact sourcing destination, you can be an impact sourcing destination. And I also found out that there are companies that specialize in mediating between companies in Europe or worldwide and impact sourcing providers. So this could also be really interesting for you if you're looking to find new buyers on the market, and maybe you can like look into companies that like mediate. Yeah, so I just think this is a really cool trend, and I wish you a lot of good luck with this. And this is it for me now. Laszlo will talk you through the more product and service specific trends. Thank you.
Thank you, Marieke. Before I start to talk a little bit about these 8 market segments, I would like to refer back to one of your terms that you used, and that is digital resonance. And you mentioned the 80 Kearney research that they publish every other year, the Global Location Index. And you might think, why is that important for me? So just try to answer the following question. And that is the question that you are going to get very often when you start to communicate with potential European buyers. And they are going to ask you, why should I outsource to your country and not somewhere else? And this somewhere else can be maybe Eastern Europe, maybe Southeast Asia, maybe other parts of the world, Latin America, and all that. So at one point of time, you will have to answer the question, why to outsource to your very own country? And I can tell you that my experience is that very often it's not that easy to answer this question, but just try to play this game a bit and try to answer this question. But now let me try to tell you a few things about 8 different market segments, more from the technology side. And the first one is big data. But before that, we are going to make a poll. And I would like to know if you offer any of the 8 above mentioned services. We are going to list only 5 of that. So if you offer something else, please just select that one. Okay, I think we got a kind of picture of what you are doing. What is very interesting, it would be interesting to know those 53% of people and companies, what you really do. What is also interesting that only very few of you are involved in IoT, IoT, or virtual or augmented reality. Now later, when I give you more information about these market segments, I will try to highlight why is that important and what are the risks that are involved if you are not specialized on those market segments. So let me start with the big data. What you need to know is that most of the data that we generate in general, that data is unstructured. Now, big data is dealing with very large data sets, and one of the main challenges are how to collect those data, how to structure those data, how to store that data, how to analyze, and how to visualize that extremely large data sets. Another question that is, Marieke already mentioned that a little bit, is privacy and data security that is related to these extremely large data sets. Every day you can use that there was a data leakage from Facebook and other online platforms. Now those are really, really large data sets, and data security and privacy is a major concern. The European market for big data is really large, and it's growing. As a matter of fact, the forecast is that till 2025, it will grow about 25% every year. But most probably the COVID outbreak will a little bit change that one. One of the major drivers of the European market is the shortage of data scientists. So companies do not have in-house resources, and they can't find data scientists to develop applications for visualization, analysis of those large data sets. But dealing with big data also offers a lot of opportunities in business intelligence, sales and marketing, customer service, predictive analysis, and also in the vertical market segments from manufacturing and healthcare to public sector as well. So there are a lot of opportunities. Also, you need to know that big data is necessary. All those tasks that are related and applications that are related to big data, it's also necessary to drive IoT, IoT, and also the machine learning segments of the market. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Now, how can you enter the market? And what are those things that you can do? Well, data collection is relatively easy, labor intensive sometimes, so that provides a fairly easy way into the European market. You can develop your own tools, so your own product, or you can try to find a European partner that is dealing with big data and development of tools, visualization, platforms, and such. What you need also is data scientists, very highly trained professionals, and eventually mathematicians in your own company. Now, I know that you might have a trouble of finding those people. The second technology area is mobile application development, and I can see that many of you deals with mobile application development. As a matter of fact, today most IT companies have to deal with mobile application development one way or the other one. There are some moderately good news for mobile application developers for the European market. Basically, the demand reached its peak, still booming, but it's a saturated market segment, and now we consider it as a commodity, which means that there are a lot of buyers, but also there are an immense number of service providers competing for the same market, either geographically or technologically. The COVID outbreak didn't change the market significantly, but there are market segments where there are more investment lately, and that is healthcare, education, and remote collaboration. Eventually, also governments invest a little bit more heavily in their own mobile application development. You can think about different applications to track people, their movement, and infections, and all those type of systems that are managed by different governments related to COVID-19. There are a number of areas that provide distinct opportunities. That is gaming, and if you can focus to a niche market or any specific industry, enterprise application, but for that you need domain knowledge. So beside domain knowledge, you will also need very highly educated people with experience. You need access to staff, also to be able to scale up your operation, and preferably you need a stable workforce in your company. And what you also need is an up-to-date portfolio of different technologies to be used in mobile application development. Again, you need to know that it is a saturated market segment, and we consider it a commodity. So most probably, if you are not specialized on any niche market, then you might have some difficulties and challenges to find European partners and clients. The third area that I would like to talk about is IoT and IIoT. The interesting thing with this market segment that this is not only about software, but it involves electronics, sensors, actuators, and network connectivity. Actuators, I don't know if you know that, but actuators, those are the moving elements of an IoT, IIoT settings. Many and growing number of applications exist in IoT and IIoT. Very often, IoT refers to the consumer side of the Internet of Things, and IIoT refers to the industrial side of the Internet of Things. You all know that the number of applications and devices available is immense. Also in the consumer market, just think about wearables, watches, all kinds of sensors that you can attach to yourself, to your house, to your garden, and all those type of things, to your kitchen. So 63% of all the devices and applications are directed to the consumer market, but only 90% of the total spending is coming from the consumer market. So there are less devices and less applications in the corporate segment, but the spending on IIoT is much higher. So most probably, if you think about entering the IoT market, most probably you would be much better off trying to focus on IIoT. But as I can see, only a very low number of you focus on IIoT or IoT application. this is a risk, whereas this market is booming and provides a lot of opportunities. There is a risk that in your own country, where you most probably you are also providing services and products, most probably it will be very difficult for you to get enough experience and to gain enough momentum to enter this market segment. Now, what you need is you need knowledge of many disciplines, not only software, electronics, all kinds of hardwares as well. You need highly skilled people. And I would like to highlight one thing, and that is the existence of some kind of research and development unit in your company. So you need a very few people. I mean, most probably most of your companies are fairly small, but you will need a few people who can really work as a research and development unit in your own company and try to figure out new applications and new areas where Internet of Things or the industrial part can be used. Again, this is a very promising market segment if you can specialize on this one. The fourth one is artificial intelligence. The demand is growing, not least because COVID-19. But the thing is that artificial intelligence is based on the assumption that our past behavior and the data that we collect from our past behavior will also determine our future actions. Now, the problem is that the pandemic changed all that picture. So, for instance, if you just think about how we do shopping, online marketplaces and all that, so and social distancing. So basically, the data that has been collected already and used in artificial intelligence type of applications might have to reconsider because of the pandemic. In Europe, very often companies do not have AI and machine learning skills in-house, so that is a drive for outsourcing. On the other hand, AI is a priority for the European Union. At least that is for the coming 5 years. At the moment, the United States and China is the market leader in these areas. The most promising market segments are manufacturing, healthcare, retail, finance and banking. I would like to tell you that that most probably some of you deal with the finance and banking on your own home market. At least that's my experience, that quite a number of companies do that. Entering that market segment in Europe, whatever you do is usually quite complicated. So that might not be an easy way in, but in artificial intelligence, that market segment is growing. The most promising market entry way is if you can find a European partner who is already developing those type of applications, and those partners usually have their own client base as well. Again, here, beside the classic software development skills, you need very specific knowledge, and again, you need most probably at least a small research and development unit in your own company. Beside that, those people in your company need to know the specific tools and frameworks. The most common ones are the Google AI and Microsoft Azure that most probably you heard about, and the different deep learning algorithms in general. Again, here there is a risk that in your own country artificial intelligence and machine learning is not all that common. So there is not much market need for that. Therefore, it would be quite difficult to get the necessary experience and some client base as well. Again, this is a very promising market. So if you can just have a look at it and try to specialize on this one. I would like to talk just shortly about 5G. Because you don't have direct influence by 5G, but there are a few areas of a few market segments that are very highly influenced by the appearance of 5G, which is the 5th generation of mobile networks. That is manufacturing, energy, utilities, and agriculture. So my advice to you is that if you want to capitalize of the appearance of 5G, and the 5G, of course, is designed to connect machines, objects, and devices in huge numbers. So that is also a catalyst for IoT, IIoT, big data, artificial intelligence. So if you can and you want to specialize and you want to capitalize on the appearance of 5G, then you should either focus on those impacted industries or the more general market segments like IoT, IIoT, and big data. Virtual and augmented reality is widely available in Europe and increasingly used. The growth is driven by the better, cheaper and smaller devices, but also better, cheaper and smaller different type of sensors. And that is also reinforced by COVID-19. The most promising markets are gaming, medtech, education, architecture, engineering, and retail. One area that could be very interesting for you, and that is visual effects. That is just a smaller part of virtual and augmented reality, but even very small companies or individuals like freelancers can enter these market segments. What you need in-house is innovation, a research and development unit in your company, even though it could be very small. Hardware and software expertise and highly qualified staff, but you also need to be prepared that you might also need graphic designers and artists in-house if you want to seriously look at virtual and augmented reality market segments. Graphic design services, is mainstream. I would say all European companies, but not only European, all European companies need some form of graphic design in their visual communication. So this is a huge market. But it's a market that is in a constant move. So the design trends and the tools are changing. Most opportunities you can find in manufacturing, gaming, mobile applications, healthcare, education, travel, and tourism. Those are the most promising market segments. The market entry barrier is very low. Even individuals, freelancers, artists, graphic designers can enter. What you need is knowledge about the specific tools, artist or artistic competences in your company, and because graphic design also relates to websites, the design of graphical elements of websites, it's very handy if you have a few people with user interface design UX experience in your company. Again, this is a commodity market, so you will find an immense number of buyers, but also a huge number of service providers that are there on the market. So market entry might be a little bit complicated. I would like to touch on blockchain and blockchain applications. Originally, it was designed to carry out cryptocurrency transactions. Today, there are more applications. The largest investment in blockchain applications and startups happened in the UK. So about 70% of the investment in this area happens in the UK. The most promising markets are finance, travel and tourism, healthcare, public sector, education and legal services. There is one major issue with blockchain at this very moment. Marieke already mentioned GDPR. Unfortunately, blockchain technology is not compatible with the GDPR, so governments are now working on this issue. All in all, Europe is an underserved market, so if you specialize on this one, you might have good opportunities, but only in those areas where GDPR doesn't play a role, so therefore applications that are not processing financial data. Again, here, as in other areas, the risk is that blockchain might not be that popular in your own country, so it would be difficult to get the necessary experience. And the ninth one is not really a technology area that I would like to mention, but basically focusing on a specific and potentially niche area is a good start, but you also need other things to have success on the European market, and being able to find new clients, expand on the market, or even to find your first client. So for the first one, what you need is you need a plan, and that is usually a strategy that you have to develop how to enter the market. The second one is that you need to be internally ready. The internal processes have to be under control and streamlined. So production, project management, soft skills, communication, finance, marketing. And the third area that you should look at very seriously is marketing and promotion. You should try to carry out very professional marketing and promotion activities. Now, what do you need for that? First of all, you should try to acquire export marketing and management knowledge. And the good news is that that CBI is here, and within CBI, all that knowledge is available. Now, the second thing that I often experience that even in larger companies, there are no people with that are full-time dealing with export marketing and management. So you need a team, or at least one person in your company who is dealing with your export activities. And the third one, the third tip that I would like to give you is that focus on contacts. Focus on a roadmap that will lead you from generating contacts that will lead you to contracts. Now, this should be an ongoing, constant activity, even in these times of COVID-19. Well, trade fairs and all those activities are non-existent at this very moment, but there are other channels that you can use and try to develop contacts, leads that potentially can lead to contracts. And one of the most important things that I always highlight is that you should try to specialize and focus on a market segment that is non-commodity or a smaller niche market segment, because those are the areas where you will have the most opportunities and the least competition. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention. And I think we are now at the questions section.
Yes, thank you very much, Marieke, and also Laszlo, for your interesting presentation. As mentioned before, we will share the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation, after this webinar with the audience. And it is indeed now time for questions and answers. If you have any questions, please post them in the question box in your console panel. I think we already received a couple of questions. Maybe we can address the first one here. That was a question about, let me see, there was a question about other products and services, security and disaster recovery professional services. I don't know, it was during your part, Laszlo. Can you tell a bit about
what type of services? I didn't get that too well.
Sorry. Security and disaster recovery professional service.
Yeah, that's an area that is very interesting. Or unfortunately, digital security, cyber security, and disaster recovery services. Many companies do not want to outsource that offshore, mainly because of security reasons. Very often that is because of intellectual property protection things. So I would say if you don't have a European office, or if you don't have a very reliable European partner, I think that's not an easy task to convince even a medium-sized European company to outsource security, digital security, and disaster recovery services in many emerging markets.
Okay, thank you very much. Then another question. What are the best channels to reach European businesses to offer them the services?
I don't know, Marieke, or should I answer that?
Yeah, you can, as long as you mentioned the research that we did on that topic.
Yeah, we did a research on that topic. So I think the most promising channel for market entry is to find a European partner. Now, how you do that? I think what you need to do is try to work together with a matchmaker or a sales representative in Europe. I think those are the so either you find your strategic partner directly, or you can find your clients or strategic partners also through working with matchmakers and sales representatives. I think those are the most common ways of entering the European market. By the way, in one of our previous research, you can find a very detailed description of these trade channels and the advantages and disadvantages of the different channels that exist in IT outsourcing.
Okay, there are a couple of questions linked to this answer coming in. One of the question, how to find a matchmaker, kind of association of matchmakers, or also how can we find European partners or sales representatives?
Well, at this very moment, there are the number of channels are kind of limited. Well, one channel is the CBI and similar organizations. Then you can also try to contact different trade associations, IT associations. But if you specialize on any specific market segment, you can also try to contact those associations Today there are online trade events, so you can participate there as well, because the advantage of that is that very often the attendees, there is a kind of matchmaking platform where the attendees are put together, and sometimes it's even easier to start to talk with the European partner on these online events than when you go to a real event. And then there is one thing that you might want to explore, that avenue. Maybe you also want to work together. We call it in Europe headhunters. Those are management consultants that are looking for very specific people. So you might want to work with those, and you can explain your expectations and the type of people you are looking for, and they might be able to help you with that.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, and we do have different studies. One of the studies that we have on our website is finding buyers, but also we have a specific study on the intermediary landscape for outsourcing, so about agents. So I recommend you to go to our website, and I will show you after the question and answer session where to find it exactly. There are also some tips going in the question. One of them is expandgroup.com. One of our participants says they take care of launching companies on new markets, including the EU. Another related question is also, let me see. Let me see. If we go now to a question related to the trends, can you please share some examples about impact sourcing and where it is used?
I'll take that question then. Yeah, there are actually many examples. For example, the one that I think it's really big in South Africa. I attended a webinar on impact sourcing, and they gave some really cool examples of companies in the UK working with the South African outsourcing providers, and some were really dedicated to for them, impact sourcing was like their main unique selling point. They, for example, went to the slums of Cape Town, and they hired people there. Some focused on women specifically, but others, yeah, just like general people that live there and that they think have good potential to, and then they give them education and training. But they also there's also examples of companies looking for graduates in IT, for example, and then they look at those people's backgrounds, and then they also help, for example, the villages where they come from with like healthcare and schooling and all those kind of things. So, but it's also in South America. I know that there are, you know, like at least like 12 projects, and also in, where was it again? Somewhere in Asia. Was it Sri Lanka? I'm not sure, but yeah, there are many examples, and actually I already got some messages from people who says like, oh, are you into impact sourcing? And also that could be a really good channel to like find buyers if you find an impact sourcing intermediary. That could be something.
Okay, thank you very much. Then a different question. There's one more about the demand. But what are already proven offshoring destinations for Europe?
Yeah, well, maybe I can try to answer that. The traditional outsourcing markets you can find in Western and Northern Europe. So those countries that you find there, Those are very much proven destinations. The Southern European countries, part of the EU, are not the major market, but you can consider them as niche markets. They can also provide good opportunities if, for instance, there are language requirements, such as French, for instance. African countries and companies from those countries might be interested for that. Eastern Europe is a very interesting place because traditionally Eastern European companies were your competitors, but nowadays they are very open to partnerships, mainly because in Central and Eastern Europe there is also a very high level of staff shortage. So they are also looking for people, and they are looking for locations where people, highly skilled staff is still available. But again, traditionally the outsourcing markets you can find in Western and Northern Europe. Each country has its own specialty. So I think if you think about market entry, you have to analyze each and every country according to your offerings, but also according to their own specific requirements.
Okay, and then one related question: is there any demand for Arabic speaking, like localization of services?
I think so, especially for companies that want to enter Arabic-speaking countries. So for those companies, localization and different type of translation services could be quite interesting. So I think the task is to find those companies that want to enter. European companies that want to enter Arabic-speaking countries.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you tell also a bit more about services that you see trending in Europe related to as a service? If you understand the question. So as a service, that is a trend on the European market, and what services as a service are trending?
Yeah, no, do you know it by heart, Laszlo, or what do you think?
Yeah. Yes, the thing is that you have to be, well, as a service, outsourcing relates to the development of cloud-based applications and software as a service. So it's a very generic term, but you can also develop your own product, and then buyers can use that product as a service. So as a service, outsourcing is very highly related to the existence of cloud-based applications. So there is a trend of moving corporate applications to the cloud. But again, here as well, I would like to emphasize the need for specialization. So if you want to enter the market because you have cloud development experience, then try to focus on a niche market.
Okay, thank you very much. Then there's a question coming in about which country in Europe can be used as a kind of hub to expand business in Europe. Germany already has presence in the UK. Maybe it's also interesting for those who don't have a presence yet.
I think it needs a little bit more detailed analysis, because each and every country might have some advantages. It depends on which geography you want to cover. Now, if you have at this very moment an office in the UK, well, at the very moment it's not that easy, or it's unforeseeable how that will work out because of the Brexit. But I can tell you that, for instance, the Netherlands could be a very interesting place to establish a hub. Mainly because the business environment is very supportive. English language is widely used, and you can reach the Benelux market, but also some parts of the German market very easily from the Netherlands. I can tell you another example. The Czech Republic, the western part of the Czech Republic, can be quite interesting, because German is widely spoken, so you can find German-speaking people there. There is still staff available, even though in the Czech Republic they are also suffering shortage of people. But from the Czech Republic, and to establish and maintain an office there is much cheaper than in Germany. So you might want to establish an office in somewhere in the Czech Republic and serve from there the German market, because especially the northern part of Germany, because that is very widely accessible from that part of the Czech Republic. So I can tell you that there is no silver bullet. It's very difficult to say that this is the best part to establish a hub in Europe from where you can serve other markets. It needs some analysis. We had done that. I had personally done that, but it's always tailor-made for the needs of that specific company.
Yes, thank you very much, Laszlo and Marieke, for answering many of the questions. Unfortunately, we have to go to the next part, that is showing you our market intelligence. And I think also, if you haven't got any answers to your questions yet, maybe you can find the answer in the elaborate market information that we have on our website. I'm going to try to share my screen and show you our website and how to find it. So maybe you can go to the next slide first, Laszlo, please. Then there you can find the link. It's the URL is cbi.eu/marketinformation/outsourcing ITO BPO. And I will now share my screen and let me see. And I hope you can see it. Yes, this is our website. So this is the URL I just showed you. And we do have information, especially for exporters from developing countries who provide outsourcing services to Europe. And we have different kind of sector information about the demand on the European market. So also this relates to which countries are most interesting. We have that for ITO as well as for BPO. The trend study, that is the study that was presented to you today in our webinar, but also a requirement study. So what requirements should your product or service comply with to enter the European market? So one of the studies that was made last year is how to respond to COVID-19 in this sector. This study is about the intermediary landscape. I mentioned it during the webinar about the agents and how that works in Europe. Then we have tip studies, how to find buyers, how to do business, how to practically organize your exports. We also have information about specific services. So that's on the right. So maybe if you are specialized in Internet of Things or big data or let me see, software developing or mobile application, I remember many of you are active in that. You can find your information there on the website. We have studies on the market demand as well as on how to enter the market, which channels to use. Yeah, please visit this information. It is all free, and we try to regularly update it. Then I give back the screen to Laszlo. So what I also wanted to mention is, in order to stay up to date on our latest publications, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter about market intelligence. Yeah, there you can also stay up to date of other webinars that we organize. CBI, so the Center for Promotion of Imports from Developing Countries, does not only offer market information, we also have projects in several countries in which we support sectors to become more sustainable and inclusive through exports. And my colleague Henrike will now tell you something about our new project in Egypt that is coming up.
Thank you very much, Sanne. I hope you can all hear me. And thank you for allowing me some time to promote the new project that CBI has started at the beginning of this year, specifically for Egypt. So for those attending this webinar and you are from Egypt, I hope you will stay on for a bit to be informed a little bit. CBI carried out a value chain analysis last year, and we found out that the IT sector in Egypt is very dynamic and vivid, and has a lot of opportunities for expanding their export for outsourcing services to the EU. But there are also some hurdles and obstacles for grasping these export opportunities to the European market. So we have developed a project for specifically Egypt. Next slide, please. Thank you. The goal of this project is, or the overall objective of this project is to contribute to a sustainable and inclusive ITO sector in Egypt and decent growth. What is very relevant for this project is that we will look at the supporting services that are needed for grasping the export opportunities. They should be available, they should be relevant and of good quality, specifically for SMEs with opportunities on the European market. We will also look in this project at supporting that there is a conducive enabling environment, as well as that we will work on the international competitiveness of SMEs and their internal capacity, as well as CSR aspects of these SMEs. Next slide, please. The ambition of the program is that we hope at the end of the project, together with the 4 partners that we have in this project, that's ETIDA, ITSAL, the Chamber of IT, and the NAL University, that we have been able to create a systemic change, so that there is a sustainable and an inclusive enabling environment for the IT sector in Egypt, but also that the SMEs that are now not in the opportunity in grasping the export opportunities, with an increase of their export to the European market, and provide also decent employment for youth and women. Next slide, please, Laszlo. Well, as said, we have 4 collaborating partners, and we will support our 4 partners in taking the lead in creating momentum for changes and development of the needed services in the sector. We will have hopefully some 25 SMEs in the project that will be supported through audits and coaching, while the services for improvement of their portfolio to Europe export will be given by European providers. And we have 5 pathways for this project with interventions. Maybe next slide, Laszlo. I will not go through them all in detail. We will work at, and we just learned also about the need for skilled people. And for Egypt, that means also looking at creating and developing a balanced, stable workforce. The second pathway is that we will look at facilitating that there are strong internal capacities within the SME so that they can access the European market. The third pathway will be looking at creating strong linkages, business linkages between the European markets and the Egyptian ITO SMEs. Well, we just learned that there are many opportunities, but we need to fine-tune that as well. The fourth and fifth pathway are more looking at the enabling environment and the services that are needed and sometimes available, but sometimes not yet of a good quality. This promotion is regarding the second pathway. Somewhere in May, we will open up the application phase for this project. It will be done on the website page Sanne just showed you, but you can also send us an email if you want to receive a pre-announcement, if you are interested in applying for this program, or if you want to learn more about this program. So on the next slide, Laszlo, here you will see if you're interested to receive more information on when this program will open up for application, then just send us an email or keep looking at our website, the Market Intelligence platform, as my colleague Sanne just showed you. So thank you, that's from my side. And if you are from Egypt and you are interested, well, let us know.
Okay, thank you very much, Marieke. So now we have come at the end of this webinar. I would like to thank everyone in our audience very much for your presence. Please let us know if you found this webinar useful by sharing your feedback with us, by filling it in the survey that is coming up now as soon as I close the webinar. And on behalf of CBI, I wish you all a very nice day, and I hope to see you in one of our next webinars. And I hope the information that we offered you is of use to you. Bye-bye.